Hey y'all, it's me again. I'm gonna continue reading from my 1900s book. Okay? So here we go. When the 20th century began, the prodigious material developments of the preceding several decades had transformed society. Yet almost all of those in positions of authority or influence in government, industry, the professions, even labor and farm organizations have been born during the years before the Civil War, when the United States ugh, was still primarily a rural country. By 1901, the nation had changed profoundly, as had its problems, which were often perplexing to men and women who had grown up in an earlier age. Some Americans were nostalgic for that past as they remembered it. Others rejoiced in modernity, but were eager to control its course and effects. Both of those attitudes pointed, though in different ways, to the desirability, even the exigency of altering conditions as they have become. As Americans were increasingly aware, they had yet to accommodate to the social and cultural changes stimulated by industrial and urban growth. They had yet to adjust their laws and their techniques of government to an age of large and complex private organizations. Americans had yet to recognize the international implications of their national wealth. They had yet to fulfill the national promise of individual liberty, opportunity, and dignity for all men and women. The unprecedented productivity of the economy made comfort potentially available to all Americans. That possibility in turn highlighted the striking contrast between the few and the many, the white skin and the dark, the urban and the rural. The striking contrast between national aspiration and national achievement. Out of an awareness of that contrast, out of the tension of material development, out of a consciousness of national mission, there emerged the efforts at adjustment and reform that constituted the progressive movement, a striving by men and women of goodwill to understand, improve, and manage the society in which they lived. A time of growth and prosperity. During the first 2 decades of the 20th century, the number of people in the United States, their average age, and their average per capita wealth all increased. In that period, total national income almost doubled, and average per capita income rose from $450 to $567 a year. Though by the standards of the 1990s, about 40% of Americans were then poor, growth in and of itself confidence to a generation tended to measure progress in terms of plenty. There were some 76 million Americans in 1900. Advances in medicine and public health resulted in a declining death rate, accounted for most of the increase. It was accompanied by a continuing movement of people within the United States. In the West, the rate of growth was highest. Along with the Pacific Slope, population more than doubled, where growth occurred everywhere, especially in the cities where it proceeded 6.5 times as fast as in rural areas. The cities in the pattern of the past absorbed thousands of rural folk, as well as almost all the 14.5 million immigrants who came largely from Central and Southern Europe in the years 1900 through 15. Usually swarthy and often unlettered, ordinarily Catholics or Jews, these newcomers differentiated the cities further and further from the pattern of life that rural Americans remembered and revered. Spurred by the pace of private investment, the nation recovered from the depression of the 1890s. During the first 2 decades of the century, capital investment rose over 250%, and the total value of the products of industry rose 222%. But not all groups shared equally in national wealth. Though unemployment became negligible, the richest 2% of Americans in 1900 owned 60% of the nation's wealth, a condition that persisted with little change for 2 decades. Those families were at once the agents and the beneficiaries of the process of industrial expansion and consolidation. Corporate mergers and reorganizations had given a dominant influence to a few huge combinations in each of many industries. among others, railroading, iron and steel and copper, meat packing, milling, tobacco, electricals, petroleum, and by 1920, automobiles. As early as 1909, 1% of all the business firms in the nation produced 44% of all its manufactured goods. The consolidators had become the richest and in some ways the most powerful men in the United States. They carried the process of investment. They controlled the boards of directors of the great American banks and industries. They interpreted the startling growth of industry as a demonstration of their own wisdom and their optimism about the economic future of the United States. Beyond all that, they developed it as were the experts whom they hired and consulted and identification with the entirety of the national economy. The enormous national market, the need for national corporate institutions to reach it, the consequent need for energetic professional management on a vast scale. Those insights contrasted with the patriotism of smaller institutions and of rural America, and with the traditional and rewarding faith in the American folk and their own ability to run their affairs and in their own local institution. The growth of the great corporation raised questions about scale and control as troublesome as were the questions raised by the related problems of poverty and wealth. Please like, share, and subscribe down below, and ring that bell notification so that you know when I upload, because I don't always know when I'm gonna have time to. Between my family, my boyfriend, and me looking for a job, I'm not always able to. So, click the bell notification so that you can know when I upload. And on TikTok, please like and follow my videos. And please pay for something on eBay or Mercari, okay? Please, please, please. I need the money, okay? And please subscribe and watch my videos on YouTube, because I need the money from TikTok, YouTube, Mercari, and eBay, okay? Bye.